Next, I'd like to introduce Houssam Abiad. He's both an entrepreneur and a councillor with the Adelaide City Council. Houssam started in business in 2001 with Digimob. He then moved on to Felici Espresso Bar, MuscleGroup, H by Felici Restaurant, and now Glam Diary. This all culminated in him being a finalist in the Ernst Young Entrepreneur Award in 2011. Houssam hopefully will briefly talk to you about Adelaide as being a city for entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And guys, thanks for having me here today. And I just want to go through, a brief discussion with you, a couple of minutes, probably 5 minutes. I guess I don't have to tell you this, but did you know that all it takes is for one startup to make it in Adelaide? Simply just one startup. You know, all it takes is for one startup to just rewrite the present and rewrite the future for the city. Just one will develop an economic impact like no other, and it will create so many jobs for the beautiful Adelaide. Just one will change the mindset of so many people in South Australia, also interstate and internationally, about how our city is specifically viewed. Just one. The power is literally in just one. But what takes one startup to make it in Adelaide? And it's always been the rhetoric that Adelaide is there to break you before it makes you. That's been something that has been flowing for many years, that you've got to be stomped before you even make it in Adelaide. So why is it so hard to do business in Adelaide? I first asked myself that question in 1999, and it was when I first started my first business, Digimob. And as you come up with an idea, the first thing that comes to mind is, great, what are some of the challenges? Two of the challenges that faced me specifically was, one, how do I come up with cash? So knock knock dad, no. Knock knock bank, no. So you've got to be innovative about how you come up with the money to finance your business. The other one and the other challenge is the Adelaide mentality. You know, you are faced and you are surrounded with a group of community that absolutely loves you, but they're just not willing to support you. This is the mentality, this is the community we're having to deal with sometimes. And up until I started reframing that question, I started to understand a little bit more about Adelaide specifically. So instead of asking, why is it so hard to do business in Adelaide, I reframed the question of saying, what is my competitive advantage for doing business in Adelaide? And just by re-looking at that, and by looking at those specific two challenges, they become opportunities. So the first challenge around money has become, why do I want to grow so quickly and so big now? You know, as an entrepreneur, if it's really hard to not get money, sometimes it's not such a bad thing, because it gets you to think outside the square. You know, what else can I do? How else can I cultivate opportunities? And this is one of the things that I've did, and Adelaide really served me well in this, because I ended up developing partnerships. That's how I managed to start with the cash flow. I brought in partners on board that are friends. I've developed community partnerships with people that helped me start and kickstart my business. And Adelaide relationships and building relationships in Adelaide is absolutely fantastic. On point 2, which focuses specifically on the Adelaide mentality, if you actually spin that to work for you, it works quite well. The Adelaide mentality, the Adelaide people, they're very loyal. They're a very loyal customer base. All you have to do first is just gnaw through the first metre of concrete before you get to the bottom fertile soil. Once you crack through it, you own it. It's your market. The challenge with that is you can't fail. You only get one shot in Adelaide. This is the other thing that sticks in the back of an entrepreneur's head, this thinking of, well, I only get one chance at getting this right, because you fail at one thing, as far as they're concerned, you fail at everything. Governments are simply not designed to take risks. So can a business survive a short-term 4-year plan? Can a business plan for 4 years ahead? No. So how can a government on a 4-year term of politics make this economy sustainable and have a vision? It's a challenge. So when we're looking at these specifically, success for entrepreneurs lies right outside the comfort zone. For a politician, that means you probably won't get re-elected, which is a challenge. So how do we find the bind, how do we find the mix and the balance between these two competing interests? Now, with change comes challenge, and we need to all wake up and realise very quickly what the competitive advantage of Adelaide is. Adelaide will not be able to compete on manufacturing and production. Ford announced its closure. I assure you, Holden will be struggling over the next decade to stay open. So do we really need more signs? Online business has already delivered a massive hit to our retail sector, and the only way to compete with e-commerce is to embrace it and join it. Adelaide needs to be a startup city by default, not by choice. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice to do anything else. This is the way of the future, and that's the focus we need to have. The only business that has a high chance of success in the future is a digital business, where we as Adelaide can collect money from all over the world and bring it back here. Online, that's the way to do it. To succeed as a startup, you need to manage down, but also manage up. Like it or not, you're not the only person that has control over your business. Governments can stimulate or restrict your growth. You need to pay attention to the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem and how your business model fits within it. Earlier this year, I was in Seattle and I met with 2 executives, one out of Microsoft and one out of Amazon. Both companies have their head offices in Seattle, where the government's bent over backwards with a zero state tax system to attract companies. Why can't the federal and the state South Australian governments support startups by investing money in them instead of investing money in failing sectors? Why can't we have a zero tax threshold for our startups for the first 3 years? What do we have to lose? Governments have only been reactive in the past, and it's time that they become proactive. So what would it take to have one company, one startup make it in Adelaide? Yes, potentially many things, but it's really one thing: partnership. A government-community business partnership where the government and the community has a vested interest in seeing your business succeed, and you having a vested interest in seeing the community and government succeeds. Community success in Adelaide translates to business success. We can make Adelaide a success story because we are all part of one ecosystem, and they will clearly define that success. All it takes is one, and I'm praying that the one is here somewhere today, where we're going to be able to shake hands with them today and probably not see them later. But I would like to think that the one is here, that's going to change everything for us. No one knows what the future holds, but the best way to predict the future for Adelaide is to try and create it in the next 54 hours. Can we reshape Adelaide? I think we can, and I think you guys can. So all power for you this weekend, and I wish you all the best.